So the keys to our success. When we did have success, distribution and awareness were always high for our products, which definitely helped. If people wanted to buy our products, they could find them, and certainly there were people aware of the products. We had high margins because the two main products, Solo and Soft, both had low costs, especially in the beginning of the simulation. And those low costs gave us high margins compared to other teams. However, we found out later on that we ended up losing sales because we needed to update our products, which increased the cost of product creation. Communication of optimized product, when we finally did get the correct message out, a high quality, excellent quality message to the customers, we definitely ended up getting increases in sales for both our Solo and Soft products. Had to be a significant portion, though, of the segment in order to keep demand high. As a couple of the other teams ran away, it became harder and harder to compete, especially over 3 products, hence dropping down to 2 products, which is what we did towards the end of the simulation, which certainly seemed to help us in competing with our peers. So what would I do differently? I would have optimized our products earlier. I would have gotten those attribute characteristics closer to the ideal. I would have optimized them more frequently as well to make sure that the customers were getting exactly what they wanted. I would emphasize brand attributes over margins because even though I had good margins even in the beginning of the simulation, I ended up losing sales in the end as expectations changed within each segment. They looked for more powerful, better featured products. I would have increased my loan amount. Loan amount was $3 million out of the $5 million and some change. And I would have taken the entire loan now, knowing that the increase in marketing spend that I could have done would have increased the sales of my products and helped me better adjust the signal of my products to make sure that the product qualities were communicated through market research. I have to remember that awareness does not equal demand. At one point, I maintained awareness in the Soft product, but despite reasonable awareness, the sales dropped to about 10%. It really was kind of a disaster for Soft in period 3. I would have spent aggressively on market research, especially when repositioning is required. Repositioning my products happened a couple times throughout, and it should have happened even more. But that marketing research is essential to make sure that the consumers understand the changes that the product has made. One of the errors I had early on, which also hindered me in changing attribute features for my products, was that I was using conjoint analysis as opposed to semantic scales to target ideal numbers. Semantic scales, I worried, were changed by the brand perceptions that the other customers wanted, or other teams wanted. And so in order to overcome those changes in perceptions that they got through marketing expenses, I decided to go with the hard and fast values of conjoint analysis. Unfortunately, there's not enough granularity in that conjoint analysis, and it's not a peak value, even though it appears as a peak in the graph. So certainly I would have used semantic scales more predominantly in choosing optimized features early in the game. Another thing I might have done is sort of targeted the explorers. No one in the entire simulation had a product that was well optimized for explorers. I think that that was because there was a forecast for shrinkage of that group right from the start. It was getting smaller and smaller, but it was still a significant size. And if you could have maintained 30, 40, 50% of that group, there certainly would have been opportunity to do well, I think. So that's another thing I would have considered if I had it to do over again. So what did I learn about the simulation, about marketing in general? Of course, one of the important things is to learn about segments and targeting your product to the customers that want what you are offering. Each segment has different needs, and those different needs are satisfied with different products. Different attributes helped me understand what a well-defined product was and what the differences could be between one and another, and how an optimal level of a given attribute is important for a given customer group, and something too low or something too high, more features isn't better for certain segments, and less features isn't always better either. You have to find the right point, the sweet spot. The price point is very important. Each market, as I said, has an ideal range. You don't want to be too expensive. You don't want to be too cheap. If you're cheap, they might think it's a low quality product. So understanding what each segment wants, they expect in a price is very important. And also you have to make sure that the marketing reaches your target. Spending marketing across the board might increase overall awareness amongst all segments, but if the segments you're spending the marketing on aren't looking for a product with your specifications, then it's kind of money not well spent. So understanding that you can market specifically to those demographics, those specific groups, certainly has a lot of value. Maybe you need to approach mass marketers through mainstream channels, radio stations that are pop music, that sort of thing. But for professionals or for high earners, maybe place them in high-end magazines or in airports where they're more likely to reach those customers. And I also realized that cleverly spending the money can minimize the dilution of signal by the competition, because as long as you're targeting it in the right segments, other people may be spending more money, but if you're spending it in the right places, you can still get your message across. The product itself, of course, is very important. Understanding that the product has specific specifications and how that differentiates one product from another to match the needs of the consumers is very important. You have to match this with the segmentation that I spoke with previously. You have to consider the cost and the margins when you're talking about a product. So enhancing features increases costs, and you have to understand that if you increase your costs, your margins are going to be smaller, and selling to a different demographic may or may not make sense depending on that change. And if you have exactly what the customer wants at exactly the right price, the product will likely sell very well. That was something I saw quite clearly, especially towards the end of the simulation, when a couple of the products really took off because they were right in the bullseye of what the customers were looking for. Also, sometimes perception is truth, which means that even if your product has features or qualities that are not ideal for a given demographic, sometimes you can change that perception and make the customer realize that what you have is actually what they need. Price is an orthogonal characteristic to the attributes. Within a price range, you look for the qualities of the product that you have is a very important factor. When all else is equal, price is king. I certainly noticed that early in the simulation. When no one had products that were well optimized for each demographic, whoever had the right price was the one who was selling. And that helped me a lot early on in the simulation. Again, each segment has their optimal range, and price is more important in some segments than others. Some people need the power, and they'll make sure they get the power first and then pay whatever it is, whether it's a little lower or a little higher than they anticipated, they may not care. So those are all important factors. And then place. Once the customer knows about it, they want it, they need to be able to find it. So you have to apply your product to the correct channels. You need to put it in places where they're going to be able to find it. Again, talking about those high earners or professionals, maybe you put products in an airport sales kiosk. Maybe for mass merchandisers, you're someone who's looking for a common product, a simple product. Maybe you put it in Walmart and sell to a large quantity with smaller margins. Online shoppers, you have to be ready for that. If your customers are looking to buy things online, because they don't like going to stores, they like doing research online, you need to make the product available, however they happen to want to shop. Each segment has their own shopping proclivities. And promotion. Realize that this is an extremely important aspect in the simulation. There's another factor that if the products were similar, promotion really made a difference. If the products either were not optimized or all of them were similarly optimized, the amount of signal in the media really drove sales quite strong. Awareness, though, is not demand. Just because somebody knows about it doesn't mean they want it. You have to match what you're offering, what they're looking for. Demand can wane if you're not paying promotional fees on a regular basis. Found that out in period 3 when the soft product, again, we dropped marketing spend, and even though awareness stayed high, the demand dropped like a rock. So that was important to notice. You have to know how to reach your target, and that marketing research is really important. Quality quality there, trying to make sure that the signal, the message that you have reaches your customers and communicates the message that you want. You communicate the attributes that your product has after an upgrade, and you need to talk about repositioning to your prospective customers. That marketing promotion can certainly provide that. And the message can alter perceptions too, even if you haven't changed the product. You can try and optimize it to make it so that the customers actually do want the product that you are offering, making your product sound, well, nudging perceptions into the sweet spot. So as such. That's the end of my slides. Certainly it was a useful experiment to go through this marketing strategy, and I learned a lot about what it means to get the signals to the customers, to provide what they needed. And I'm really looking forward to applying some things that I've learned in the real. Thank you.